Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for the news review. But before I get into the guests and we start the conversations, this year's CompuGhana Cashback has been named Prime Cashback Season. And it's packed with goodies, incredible deals and exciting surprises just for you. Now, this Prime Cashback, CompuGhana is bringing you exclusive discounts, prime savings, and awesome surprises when you shop for products from any of their branches nationwide. You can find products from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Midea, Nasco, Tecno, Infinix, Itel, Huawei, and many more. Visit any of the CompuGhana branches nationwide and enjoy exclusive discounts on all products. Now, CompuGhana has a wide range of IT-related products, mobile phones, electronic products such as laptops, printers, desktops, tablets, televisions, fridges, home theaters, and even air conditioners and gas cookers. What's more amazing is that this year's Prime Cashback with CompuGhana has got great prizes with instant gifts and cash prizes for your shopping experience. Whenever you shop at CompuGhana this season, be on the lookout for the surprise team. Answer a question correctly and win instant cash and gifts. Jinaho Naji. You deserve this opportunity too, so rush to CompuGhana now. The promo runs from now up to December, the end of December, that is. You can reach CompuGhana at CompuGhana.com or call them on 0302 752 020 for more information. Well, joining us for the news review this morning, we'll likely have a third guest joining us in the studio, but for now we have Kwame Nkrumah Botuo, who has decided to pair with me. He is General Secretary of the CPP. And of course, my friend to the other end did not get the memo. He did not get the memo, so he got here. But at least he used colors that mix. So we can say he is in a foreign fugu or batakari. In the person of Andrew Appiah Dankwa, he's a legal practitioner and a member of the Movement for Change. And guess what? Our final guest is also in fugu. What tomb? What tomb?
Serious in tomb.
You see, this was not orchestrated, but you should have got this. Where did you sleep last night? At home or at
friends
at home.
Or at certainly at home.
Certainly at home. Because I think the spiritual connection.
Exactly.
You missed out on the spiritual connection.
I didn't decode.
You didn't read into the way the hieroglyphics.
I concede.
You concede, eh?
I concede.
It's also the house he was in when we were at Chumata. You know, we are JPEG house, they don't really get the memo of.
Oh, Charlie, but you had to cut him like that,
We've given you Ghana the president. Giving Ghana
All right.
the president.
Serious. So let's do this. Our usual minute and a half. I'll start with you so that you can share your thoughts very quickly with us.
So let's wish yourself a good morning. Ghanaians a good morning. Always a pleasure to be in my brother's company. I think my thoughts has to do with the need for us to come together as Ghanaians to rebuild our country. We all know what has happened. Ghanaians have spoken with a loud voice. I think where we are in a country where political leadership seems to have lost some kind of credibility, where the economy itself has lost credibility. I think it's important that at this stage of our national discourse, we put aside partisanship, come together as Ghanaians, throw our weight behind the president-elect, and do our small bit in the cry to rebuild our country and restore hope in democracy as the only governance system of choice. Because if you analyze the election results critically, my biggest concern was the almost over 6 million Ghanaians who decided to vote with their feet. For me, that vote was a vote that suggested that they seem to have lost hope in the ability of this system of governance to deliver for them on its promise. And so let's at least put a hold on partisanship a bit for now, and let's all come together as one people and rebuild the country, not necessarily in terms of infrastructure and all, but also in terms of the credibility of democracy as the only system that can guarantee for us the rule of law and thus guarantee for us our right to life, our right to liberties, and our right to pursue our individual happiness.
All right. Mr. Botio, hold your horses. I'll come to you shortly. But that also reminds me, and that's why yesterday I was a bit upset when, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, Kojo Poku of the MPP was sounding as though, nothing will change and in 6 months Ghanaians will be suffering and all that. Whatever the case may be, systems at the grassroots must change. Things must change. But you don't wish suffering on Ghanaians or insult those who went out to vote a certain way simply because they didn't vote your way. But if you look at the daily graphic, I'll come to you for your thoughts, don't worry. If you look at the daily graphic this morning, there are some interesting headlines there. The Daily Graphic newspaper addressing economic challenges. New government needs solid team. That's according to the experts. Then handover notes ready for next government. Administrator General says that. Then there is student stabs teacher in the eye. Nat demands justice for victim. Major General Anita Asma gets UN appointment. And that's a feather in Ghana's cap. I was so proud when I saw this yesterday. We're still doing great things as a nation in the United Nations setup. And then there's also transition team probes last-minute deals, payments, recruitments involved. And then on the back page, aftermath of 2024 polls, TUC GBA condemn actions of rampaging youth, and immigration vehicle crashes 2 apprentices near KJB. Okay, so those are some of the stories there. But let me pause briefly and come to you, Kwame Nkrumah Botio, for your quick thoughts this morning. It has to be very quick. Time has been lost, so let's make tracks
in just a few seconds, I would say that we've had a successful election. And I have down those I call the 10 heroes of this election, starting with the media. This time, they didn't give traction to rumors and anything that would fan the flames. They did their investigations, got to the bottom of everything. You're at number 1 on our list. Number 2 goes to the EC. They did things very professionally, in spite of all the rumors of rigging. I think they did a very good job. It was free and a fair election. And the IGP, Dr. Dampare, he ensured order. The CDS, Lieutenant General Opon Pepra, he did well. The other security heads. And our incoming President Mahama, he has shown the usual maturity that he always shows, calling those who are causing instability to order. And then our first ever female vice president, I think she's also done a good job during the campaign. I would want to commend her. And I would also want to commend the CPP leadership. You know, we came to this election late. It was under the intervention of now Professor Dele that we managed to come together and unite and indeed increase our votes by 90%. NPP votes fell by 40%. NDC votes came up by 0.1%. CPP votes increased by 90%. And I want to commend all CPP members and all Ghanaians. And finally, the reason why today's smoke seems to be in NPP colors. I know the best on the ballot was Nana Frimpong Sapon Kumankuma. She's the one I voted for. I didn't vote for Baumia, but I think his concession has moved.
If you hadn't mentioned him in that list, I would have mentioned him.
Oh, yes. That is why I'm even wearing NPP colors today. I didn't vote for NPP. I voted CPP. But in honor of Dr. Baumia, his concession has made him not only an elder statesman in Ghana, but a statesman of international proportions. I think we should encourage him to be used as a mediator. I mean, the UN should look at his work. We have, I mean, life and politics goes beyond Ghana.
You appear, though, to be sidelining him to the... he says he's lost the battle, not the war, so he will probably be preparing for 2028.
I think he should rather be looking at... he can go for 2028, but he's needed on the international scene. If you look at Ukraine, Russia, Yemen, and we need people like him, people who have a heart for peace, and I would commend him. He's number 1 on Well, he is also on the list of 10.
All right. Thank you very much for those. There have been calls, some people, even when I went out on the street, some people said, retain the IGP. I think the IGP has added some
did an excellent,
flavor
excellent.
to, not just in the elections,
Yeah.
but sometimes you go somewhere, you know, as media people, there are different engagements, and you're coming back late and all of that. Police visibility. I think he's done, I mean, there may be the negatives. There may be even the entire recording saga and all of those. But I think he's introduced something into our policing that I think is really good. Very quickly, I've taken your thoughts already, right? Okay, let me bring in Prof. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've also joined the fraternity.
I told my friend.
He missed the memo.
He doesn't listen to me.
That's okay. Prof, so your brief take, it must be very brief, but I don't know whether you would concede. The last time you came here, I told you that whoever won this election, whether NPP or NDC or any other person, would win by a wide margin. And you said to me, oh, it's going to be close, nail-biting close. Will you concede now?
Well, I have no option than to push. I don't know when he became a prophet. So now when you speak, I'll take it.
You take it more seriously.
I'll tell you.
Anyway, quick thoughts.
And good morning to our viewers and listeners, and good morning to my good friends. Ghana, we have won. That's what I would say. Today I can wake up, go for lectures, go to school, as if nothing happened in the country. And it's all about maturity. We are not matured yet, but the processes that will lead us into that space, I think we are getting closer. There were flashes of isolations of few issues that we had as a country during the elections, but I must say that we have done well. The media fraternity, the MPP, the NDC, my good friend, the movement. We've done well. There are some individuals that I can mention. One is IGP, played a key role in the success of what we have achieved. That of MPP, for now, I normally have 3 words that I've been using for the past 2 days. They should retreat, regroup, and re-strategize. These are 3 things I will tell them. The party would need an open surgery, and I'm sure one of your newspaper's headlines focused on that. But you don't do surgery in public. Surgeries are done in a confined environment. They need an open surgery, but should not be done in public. If you do this, you'll not solve your internal problems. So I will urge the party, the hierarchy, the major players within the party that please, it is time to reflect. It is time to accept the defeat in humility. It happens, not the first time, and it will be the last time. To the NDC, they've exhibited maturity in their jubilations. There were a few issues that we reported. We want to encourage them. They have right. MPP should allow them to jubilate, to have fun.
But in moderation.
Moderation is their time. MPP, they've enjoyed before. They've been in power for 8 years. It's a change of emphasis, a change of direction. We should allow it. It's painful. When you're going for a war and you think you've armed yourself so much and you get such a result. So Ghana, we have won as a country. Democracy is still thriving. International community, I mean, they've expressed their appreciation in terms of what we have done as a country. Today we are fine. We are colleagues. We tease each other. It's normal. We shouldn't fight.
And that's the beauty of what we do. You could have one family, some voted this way, some voted that way. We all come and we
Those
move
on the street
together.
fighting and killing people, I tell them, look, the leader doesn't know your name. You don't even have CV. They don't even know you. So we shouldn't get into that space. It won't help our democracy. But thank you. And I'll take you. I'll have to come to your church going forward.
Thank you so much for those initial comments. One thing, though, gentlemen, before we get into your papers, I don't want to start from my end. I noticed this because I had told a friend that, listen, now that John Mahama has won, and he and his party members, they have to be very sober about this and not, it's not that you can't rejoice. But know that the work ahead of you is gargantuan. It's not a joke. So this is not time for merrymaking. I like the posturing so far. And I say so far because if you watch from every step through the election, from voting after paying a visit to his father's, burial site, to when the results were trickling in and he was spoken to at the family house office and all of that, to accepting after the EC, and even to meeting, the apostolic, his church grouping, and then the imams, the chief imams delegation.
Yeah.
He appears to be very sober, reflective, that this is not time to, hey, we've won. It's time to, So hopefully they keep it that way, because we've seen in this country times where, yes, jubilation and, unfettered jubilation. But the real work that must be done before long, people become arrogant. They are not doing the work. Let's get into the papers this morning. I'd like to start with you, lawyer, on this bit. So your Republic Press.
So it says the economy bounces back. Finance Minister confirms. Ghana's Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has announced that the country's economy has rebounded with strong fundamentals in place. The nominal size of the economy has grown significantly, reaching 76 billion, with expectations of further growth before the end of the year. This represents a 20 billion increase over the past 7 years. Several notable achievements have been recorded in the macroeconomic front in 2024. These include strong recovery. Growth has averaged 5.8% for the first half of 2024, the highest in the last 5 years. Decreasing inflation. Inflation is trending downwards. CD recovery. The CD has recently recovered. Maintaining fiscal discipline. Despite being an election year, the government has maintained fiscal discipline, even with massive infrastructure projects underway. The government has successfully completed its debt restructuring program, both domestic and external, and negotiated a 3 billion 3-year IMF-supported program. Improved external sector balances. Ghana has posted strong external sector balances and improved gross international reserves significantly. The government has committed to implementing programs that enhance welfare and social protection, especially for vulnerable members of society. Overall, Ghana's economy is on the path to recovery with strong fundamentals in place. The government's commitment to fiscal discipline and social protection programs will help ensure sustainable growth and prosperity for all Ghanaians. Okay.
Any reflections on that? Or are there other stories you want to do quickly?
So, Mama pledges inclusive government, and this is at page 3. So the President-elect John Dramani Mahama has assured Ghanaians that his incoming administration will prioritize inclusive governance despite the National Democratic Congress NDC securing an overwhelming parliamentary majority in the recent elections. Mama made this promise during a courtesy call by the National Chief Imam, emphasizing his commitment to democratic governance. He vowed to consult with the new patriotic party at every step, ensuring that decisions are made by consensus rather than imposition. I wish to assure my father, National Chief Imam, and our fathers that we are not going to misuse the majority we have in Parliament. Mama said, we are going to consult with the MPP at every stage and make sure that we do things by consensus instead of railroading everybody. Mama also acknowledged the challenges ahead, describing the election victory as the easy part compared to the work required to rebuild the nation. He emphasized that this term is his legacy, marking his final chapter in politics, and pledged to give his utmost best to create lasting progress. The President-elect's commitment to inclusive governance is a welcome development, especially given the overwhelming parliamentary majority secured by the NDC. Right. As Mama, I think, concerning the economy bouncing back, you see, we find ourselves in a similar situation to the situation where the MPP found itself when it came. You see, our politicians need to be humble and continue to tell Ghanaians the truth. If there's one thing about an IMF program, what it gives you, what it guarantees you, is stability. So when they came in 2017, we were in an IMF program. It granted us stability.
And we're also benefiting from the 2016. You see, because of the program, we had also been disciplined. Exactly. So the benefits dovetailed into 2017.
Failed then was to build on that stability in terms of the terrible fiscal decisions they make. I still cannot understand the life of me. Why you spend close to about 5 billion on NAPCO, a useless program like NAPCO, and spend only about just 400 million on a program that is meant to be transformational, like the 1D1F.
Yeah.
You understand? You had this term called...
To get us to industrialize.
Exactly, because that's the only way in which we can build the resilience we need. there again, they are talking about economic bounces back. He needs to be humble. The minister here needs to be humble and tell Ghanaians that the economy is stable not because of our ingenuity, but because of the IMF.
Right.
Yes, because if there's something that politicians have shown us, that having been to IMF for 17 times, we seem not to be learning. Because how is it that immediately IMF comes in, you understand, we manage to be fiscally disciplined, to do things that grants us stability. And
it's clear if we hadn't gone for the IMF's help, and even there were options apart from the DDEP, we chose the lowest hanging fruit.
Exactly.
And we hadn't done a DDP, which has caused a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Our economy probably would have been bonkers by now, which also goes back to the point you're making, that we had been reckless. And mind you, then we started borrowing as well for projects that basically did not deliver.
For NAPCO, you understand? We started borrowing for NAPCO. You understand? You see, and also the arrogance. You understand? We must learn, and I hope Mahama will learn, and then he finds a way of building on the stability the IMF has left us. Now, what our advice, Mahama, that to sustain this growth, he needs to be. We are Ghanaians. You understand? Our GTP is there. All the answers are there. Mahama can take the GTP, follow the GTP, apply the GTP as if it was an IMF program. And I believe if it does so and it does that well, then we can be able to sustain the growth that will cause the economy to be resilient. Also on the Mahama pledges inclusive government. In fact, I must say that I've been very impressed with the kind of sound bites that's coming from the president. Already he's showing fantastic leadership. Yes, and having won this overwhelming, as in the election in this overwhelming manner, and clearly, our president, sitting president, and his vice, the chairman of the police council, you understand, clearly having, as in what's happening, the looting and all the things that happen, for me, is a reflection of the fundamental lack of leadership that was shown over the past 8 years. The fact that they failed to build the institutions, they failed to create the right political culture. You understand? That will be tolerant, that can hold people accountable. So for me, I feel that it was very unfortunate for the vice president, having considered, in a very beautiful way, to come out and then say that the incoming president should call his people to order because you are still the chairman of the police council. You are still the chairman of the police council. You are still the people who wield the executive powers. And so for me, I'll commend John Mahama, like I said earlier, if there's a time for us to come together as a people, throw our weight behind the new leader and rebuild the loss of political credibility, the loss of economic credibility, then the time is now. And I think Mahama, by the kind of things he's saying, and I hope when he actually becomes the president, as in on the 7th January, it won't be a matter of just words, but even how they also act. It will be one that can bring all of us together, build a system that is truly inclusive. You understand? So that we can all together build a nation. Nobody will come and build Ghana for us. All of us must build this country, and we must build it behind the right leader. And I'm confident that this time around, based on what he's saying, based on the magnanimity of how he's handling his victory, we can rally around him and then cause the transformation that this country desperately needs.
Quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have some thoughts from the same angle that he has.
Let's make our thoughts pretty brief. There are a lot of papers.
Yeah. Regarding the economy, I would take the first story from the New Finder. Ghana poised to exceed revised GDP growth targets. It is true that the NPP made a lot of mistakes, as my friend said, regarding their priorities when it comes to the economy. But I would say that I'm glad they are going out to the bank, as I would say. Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempeh stated that hopefully by the time His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo hands over power, he would have exceeded Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's record. He was not able to do that, in my estimation. But at least for them to have exceeded the growth target of 4% for 2024 as projected under the third review of the IMF-supported program. They should be commended. At least they are going out with some good results. And whilst they are licking their wounds, they can use this to more or less comfort themselves. And another major story that I would also want to look at is IMF wants renegotiation must align with program objectives. The IMF programs are not always comfortable things. You have to make some adjustments which do not augur well with the citizenry. But as my friend said, we should unite behind President Mahama, and all Ghanaians should patiently unite behind him if it entails belt tightening. Because, you know, the mantra of most governments when they come is that the previous government has destroyed everything. There are times when there are a few problems. I remember His Excellency President Kufuor, somebody I really look up to, as one of the most successful presidents in Ghana. When he came, he said, "Aka don't pay," as in everything, all the meat has meat, and Aka don't pay. So Ghanaians going into 2025 say, "Aka don't pay cry." Let's be patient. Let's back the new president, because if he succeeds, all of us will succeed.
Okay.
Another story I would also want to look at is the ORC delisting looms. 500,000 businesses, 5,000 companies at risk. The ORC is doing a very good job. When you go there with their facelift, everything is organized, everything is fast. And Mrs. Jemima Wari is doing a very good job there with their education on the things to do when you have a company. And nowadays there are regular text messages if you are late in filing and all that. And I'm happy about the publicity that they are doing regarding the delisting of the companies, so that anybody who has any issues at the ORC will be up and doing. Because all these businesses, all these companies have employees. If they are delisted, if they are closed down, people will go home. So it is a good thing that the ORC is doing, and businesses should be up and doing to protect their employees, to make sure that their businesses are on their feet. If there are any penalties, they should go and pay, so that the 2025 economy and onwards will be on sound footing. And also we have daily guide, no major post-election incident in 24 hours.
I think we should hold on the daily guide
Okay.
for now. Let me go to Professor Boedi on this one. But Andrew made a comment. He spoke about the economy and all of that. In the transitional process, some things have emerged. Because you are a finance person, I just wanted to run that by you. The ECG bit and the 240 million Ghana cedis, which an attempt was made to pay. And the transitional teams, the side from the NDC said, no, you can't be making such payments at this time, this late time. Let us come in and do the right thing. Then there have also been issues in terms of recruitment, where there's been a move to recruit into certain services. And they've said, how can you be doing this in the dying embers of your administration? But this also wouldn't be the first time we've seen some such actions. What are your thoughts on them, and how do we sanitize these processes?
Yes, I've not read that story into details, but I've chanced on a few comments in that regard. I think I will, before I come back to the what my good friend raised on economic related issues, I will touch briefly on what the question you asked. In fact, in transition, we should be very careful how we organize such a process. You don't need to overly burden the new government with other expenditures. I don't know the entire story, but this should not be the time of...
In fact, if you listen to Felix Kwashiorforsu, he says the timing of this recruitment would have severe fiscal implications on the incoming government. And he says they raised strong objections to those maneuvers and requested that they be put on hold. The government side agreed to this, and that they would forcefully insist that it was a dangerous precedent to set. Of course, if you make these recruitments, then the incoming administration will be saddled with
A lot of
those. The former president, who is now the incoming president, has also said that he's going to renegotiate the IMF, deal we have, for example. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll touch on all these. Has it happened before? This exercise. When a government takes over, the other government wants to recruit a lot. Has it happened before? Yes, on several times. But we can't all the time be doing this. There should be a stop at a point in time.
But to this scale, I guess the scale is the problem. Because I remember when Domelevo was brought in and the Shraj boss was brought in. I mean, the timing. But with these, you're talking recruitment of quite a chunk of people, which would mean, that the public purse, a lot of where we bleed is public servants and all of that. So if you have another chunk coming in, it means you will definitely come and suffer.
Yeah, so it might not be a good practice. For me, you've lost the election. You should be circumspect with whatever you do and transparent. Because you then force the incoming president or the administration. They will reduce. They will not allow these new recruits to be employed. Yeah. To be honest with you, they will come and review their contracts. Yeah. And then the whole thing will blow up in our faces in the country. I think they should have time and then look at this recruitment structure again. What is going to happen in the long period, you rather will give a lot of work to the new administration coming into force. Coming back to the issue about the economy, my good friend was initially indicating, I'll come back to the IMF renegotiation issues again, that the Minister of Finance should stop the arrogance.
All of them. They should stop arrogance.
But I have not seen that, to be honest with you. I have not seen that displaying that kind of... it's a good story to be told. Economy bounces back. We don't see the impact of this statement only in Ghana, but outside, beyond our jurisdictions. Because investors are all over the place. I don't know if the Daily Graphic or this Republican press had reported the economy in tatters. What would have been the story? Wouldn't have liked that. In fact, after election, people are expecting the country to be turned into a chaotic situation, that people cannot go to work and the economy. But if it's a good story like this, it helps all of us. And I think it's a good story to be told. And was he lying? That's the first thing. The figures he churned in here, I think they are factual to a large extent. Now, if you look at the economy, the structure of our economy, mainly fiscal policy, that is one, that's controlled by the Minister of Finance. We have the BOG controlling the monetary policy. We have the external sector sitting somewhere. We also have the real sector economy. All these will feed into the economy. To give you the figure.
They are interwoven.
Yes, we are talking about. If we have reported a growth, there's nothing wrong in the phase of our crisis to report. What figure did he put out there? He talked about and showed that our debt situation and then the economic growth. In fact, from all these years, we were hovering around, in terms of the economic growth, in 2022, 3.8. Then it took a nosedive to 2.9. As of 2024, the second quarter, we're cruising, I think, 6.9. I don't know the figure the minister put out there. I don't know what that's 7?
Growth.
The growth?
7.2.
7 points. It's a good story to be told. So he has not done anything wrong. He has not exhibited any kind of arrogance in this regard. It's a good story. The government, the new administration going back to IMF for renegotiations. Well, it's a good call. For them, they are there to give you money to run your country. And they take interest out of that. The other thing we need to also focus on, for IMF to grant or to approve another disbursement, you go through a process. They don't just get up after giving you one, and because of the way you live your life, you're a nice person, we'll give you again. There are certain criteria you have to follow and fulfill before they can advance money to you again.
Right.
Ghana, have we gone through all? Yes. And that's why they have given us additional funding. if the new administration thinks that it's better,
We have to wrap on this point because there are papers to read.
go back and then renegotiate. That's a good call. Of course, I can go back to my the one who gives me facility and tell that person, look, can you reduce this rate because I'm doing so well? And I think it can be done. So there's nothing wrong. There was an interesting story. The new government need a strong team.
I'll get into those, but the point to be made, though, sometimes I think why these figures, Andrew makes a point, is that the macroeconomy also impacts the microeconomy. Now, you see, he was talking about sustaining the gains. After the last IMF program we had from the NDC's dying embers, if we had done certain things right, then we would have seen the benefits on the ground, including what he spoke about in 1D, 1F. But because we were shambolic with it, we ended up over-borrowing, going back to the IMF, and you see what that means is you start the process all over again. So all the time, you are reinventing the wheel. Yeah. You are always, instead of learning from that learning curve, you are always reinventing. So 1 step forward, 2 steps forward, then you go 4 steps back. Then you are now trying to catch up to 0 before you move forward. That's exactly what the issue is. So the macroeconomy, eventually, these figures mean nothing because in the end, you don't sustain it enough for the ordinary person to feel it at the micro level, which is in his pocket when he goes to the market and all of that. I think that's the point, not about not glorifying these figures. So you can sit on your high horse and glorify these figures, but to the man down there, they mean absolutely nothing. But there's this point that Charles Ewusi Forson makes. He says, Mr. Host, you are the same person talking about unemployment, and now you are saying the civil and public service is choked. When you quote me properly. I never use the word choked, though we know in some areas there's a moratorium or something. But it's about the ethics, the morals. You don't, when you've been voted out, sneak in a batch of people, so many people, you know you are not going to be in power. The next administration will come. The ethical thing is to not do that. That is the point. Okay? All right. So let's get into our papers. Prof, very quickly. We have to make the most of the time. Let's do the papers.
This has already been done. So
I'm sure.
Your papers.
Oh, this is my. Oh, yes. I didn't know. But I like the other story. Well, the government needs the expert team to.
I will do this. I will do this eventually, but I want you to. Just a quick headlines. If there's any one story that interests you, you do it. But you can do the headlines first. Then
I think there's something on the. Am I jumping to? Thank you. I think the MPP needs.
So the Informer newspaper is what you're looking at.
Yeah, I have the Informer newspaper.
Okay.
MPP needs open surgery to rebuild and heal wounds. I think I can comment, and then a few things on the issue that are best advice to the country. I made my comment earlier on the same regards that MPP needs an open surgery to rebuild and heal wounds. It was something nobody expected. In fact, the results defied all odds. And I tend to agree with my good friend as a prophet now. Nobody expected that to happen.
I expected that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. You know, in every battle, you have casualties. That's a characteristic of any battle. You go into any war, you have people who die, others who are made victorious. And if it happens, what do? You don't come to the public space, say things that cannot be substantiated. And if you want to go back and clear those things, it will be difficult to do that as a party. So it's not a good time. MPP must accept this defeat with all humility, move on. It's not the first time. Over the years, they've lost several times. They didn't die. The party didn't collapse. It's a good call. Maybe certain things were not done right. Now it's time for you to retract, regroup, and reorganize yourself and come back. That's 4 years. And even the politics started on the day of election, when it was announced. Then we started a new political game also began. So people will not rest. I think that we should give this administration some time, space, for them to plan. It's a good call for the entire country. We should give this administration some time. Maybe after inauguration, the 7th January, We've been given 120 days, all right? 120.
They have a 120-day social contract, but they should also not tickle themselves and think they have too much time, because the reality is that they are coming at a very unfavorable time. So time.
Well,
I mean, yes, to be fair to them, you can't expect. Some people have said that then the prices of kenke should move from 4 or 5 cedis.
No,
it doesn't happen.
It
doesn't happen like that.
So,
not maybe even in a year or two, realistically. But at the same time, the mindset should be there that time no day.
Yeah.
And you must hit the ground running.
So they should give them some space. Let them organize themselves as a party, new administration, organize themselves. If you can do anything, it should be at 120 days. And that is where a lot of think tanks are going to be formed. And they give not good pressure on this government to perform, because after 120 days, you gave us a timeline of what you're supposed to do. So people are going to chronicle all these events, and every day they'll give it to you. You said you do this, have you done that? The checkbox are going to be ticked from now going after 120 days. So they should have a good team, a solid team to run this country, and it's for the good of this country. Right?
Yeah. Well, I see a message here. I think sometimes we really need education on some of these matters. Someone sends me a message. Halifa Savage says, we need Vice President Baumia in the transitional team for the sake of Ghana. Mr. President, he is our brother. Put politics aside. North is going to fix Ghana. Do you get the problem with this?
No, let's explain.
He is saying we need him. The transitional teams are appointed by both sides.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Yeah, no one determines that this person should be. It's the NPP side that determines who represents them. So obviously, some education needed there. Yeah. But you wanted to react to something?
Yeah, to the NPP needs open surgery.
So we have to do it quickly. I want you guys to finish with your before I do mine very quickly.
You see, so there's something I'm hearing why the NPP law, but there's something that people are not saying. This NPP has departed radically from their core principles and values.
That's the NPP under Nana Addo.
Yeah, they've departed massively. Because you see, for me, I cannot understand how the NPP can sponsor a president who has delivered an agenda which is adverse, one, to the country's agenda, but also very adverse to the party's agenda too. Now you see, and the party's agenda can be found, one, in their history, but also in their constitution. Because you have a party that has as one of its core values being a belief in decentralization.
Right.
And under Nando's watch, I've never seen a government that's as centralized as his government. To the extent that even school feeding is
central.
Very central. You have a party that claims in their constitution that one of their objects is to maintain the environmental integrity of this country. And they've delivered a president who has created this as a settle down, actually caused his party people to partake in an exercise that has created an existential threat for all of us, the Galamsey issue. You understand? Then the question is, how did a party, the NPP, sit down and allow this? You understand? And I'm saying that people, especially in their strongholds, in Ashanti, voted with their feet. It's because they do not recognize the party anymore. The party do not reflect the values that make people to aggregate around. And unless and until they find a way of exercising the familiar spirit that has entered the party.
Familiar spirit?
Yes, I told my brother. I told him. Unless they find a way of exercising that familiar spirit that's entered the party, the familiar spirit that has made the party now Machiavellian.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very Machiavellian.
These are strong words you're using.
You see, it's very Machiavellian because, you see, when Anado took over the party, it didn't value principles, it didn't matter. All that mattered was power. Indeed, when Anado took over the party, you know, NPP, when they said Kukudu, their response was Eshi. When Anado took over, their response became power. So for him, as being the Machiavellian, it's like for him, all that mattered was whatever we did to get power. And that's why a party like NPP, our leader could say, all that be die, and nobody found, as in, the danger in those kind of communication. It's why you understand? The coup d'etat against Afoko, Kwabna. In fact, indeed, I've said on this your platform that the NPP currently now is a threat to the rule of law. And you saw that in how they handled their communication in this parliamentary issue. That in spite of the claims of their constitution, the National Council still retains some arbitrary power to decide, make decisions against the claims of their constitution. That is arbitrary. That is against the rule
Okay.
of law.
Let-
So unless they find a way of getting their values right, forget about them.
We have to make tracks, but a very quick one to you. You left the MPP,
Yeah.
right? Joined the Movement for
Yeah.
Change. If those things you're talking about happen and the MPP becomes better, will you rejoin the MPP?
Surprise is not talking.
You see, one, I don't believe the people in MPP now, as the people who are the top echelons of MPP, have in them. Because they themselves don't even believe in those values.
They don't have it in them to change to that face of the MPP that you knew.
To those values. Because they do not have those values.
Okay, so you're staying with the Movement for Change.
I'm not going back to there's
Okay.
toxic.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm not going
Kojobo, to you. We have to just do headlines now quickly. So let's do the daily guide.
So back to Daily Guide, we have
Natural.
lawyer drags special prosecutor to court, which can be seen on page 6. It speaks of one lawyer, Emmanuel Dancer, Apia, has dragged the special prosecutor to court for breaching the Data Protection Act. Apparently, Data Commission Act. Apparently, the special prosecutor engaged, a foreign organization to conduct some work for the OSP. And I think the Chief Justice has to look into this. The special prosecutor, he has done a good job.
Right.
But in this day and age, the data of the nation is sacrosanct. You don't allow foreign institutions, knowing the history of this country regarding the CIA and other things dating back from the 60s.
Right.
And we also have 14 Damongo NDC boys caged. We all heard about what happened in Damongo. And it harps back to 2016 when NPP won the election and they besieged Peduasi Lodge and DVLA and other places. And it is good that these boys have been called to order. As much as I know that the majority of NDC members are law-abiding people, they should stem this in the bud so that we don't have what happened in 2016 with takeover of government institutions.
Right.
And then finally, we have the outgoing NPP MPs and their replacements.
Right.
I would say what has happened in Parliament is a landslide.
Right.
It's an earthquake. And with the majority that the NDC have, they can do almost everything in this country. And I would pray that the honorables should make sure that they use the power well and not abuse it, because such an outright majority can lead to abuse of power. But I know that there are a lot of good people in Parliament, and they'll make sure that they don't abuse this in order to maybe change the constitution to perpetuate themselves in power. And also, we have no major post-election incident in 24 hours, and that harps back to our praise for the IGP about his personal engagement. We in the political parties, he engaged with us regularly, and we are glad that the method engaged by the NEST, that's the National Election Security Task Force, has worked perfectly.
All right. Is there something little you want to add very quickly, and then we can...
Yes, I think you can go on. It was just
Okay. Well, there's also the counting that is ongoing as far as the Tesano issue is concerned. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, regarding the counting, it is good that it has been moved to the Tesano police station, because as much as, sometimes the presidential votes are a reflection of the parliamentary votes, but there have also been some instances, for example, Irabna Obin's seat, is it Okaikwe North or so? Apparently, only 219 out of the 281 polling stations or so had been counted. And the EC made a declaration under duress, apparently. That's what I heard in the media.
Ablekuma North.
That is what I heard in the media. I think we should be careful. We should be careful about forcing the EC officials to make such declarations, because this is going to lead to opening the floodgates to a barrage of legal actions.
Okay.
Where we will have reversal.
We have to go quickly. So let me just do this. The Daily Graphic newspaper Addressing economic challenges, new government needs solid team. That story on page 3. 4 analysts say the incoming president, John Dramani Mahama, will need to assemble a solid team capable of addressing the country's economic challenges to set the right governance tone for his second presidency, especially in terms of trust. I don't know whether I like the sound of solid team, because we heard the last time, what a solid team, and they left us in very vaporized and liquefied term. So maybe we should choose another. We need a strong team. Solid, right now, the experience with solid is very liquid. So we have to be careful on that front. There's also, I know you want to react, but let me quickly go to this. Handover notes ready for next government. Administrator General says that. The Anchor newspaper adds, outgoing ministers' appointees banned from buying official cars. I think that's a good
That is a very good
this. And then sad story, student stabs teacher in the eye, Nat demands justice for victim. That's on page 24. Wow. Gentlemen, we have to go. No more than 15, okay, so 20 seconds each. He spoke about the Ablekuma North issue, the collation, the Tessa North issue. Would you like to talk about that?
In fact, no.
No, you don't want to. Would you like to talk about that, Prof? No. Okay, then let's do our final comments.
Yeah. So I'll just reiterate my position. We've had our elections. We have spoken. It's time for us to come together as one country and support the new leader, so that together we rebuild and transform this country.
Prof?
Yeah, he was doing an open surgery, and I told him that we shouldn't do that. I don't know why he can't do that in the Alliance area, because they also were part of the. So we shouldn't stop the open surgery on radio and TV now. You can say whatever we need.
But we should be able to say whatever.
But it's important that we do this in our own small way. I think there was something on the president urging members. I think on cars or something they should not.
Yes.
I don't know the full story, but it's a good call. It's a good call. We shouldn't do things that will also overburden the new administration. So it's a good call that the president is saying that they should not. It's happened in the previous administrations and all that. But we can't perpetuate this. We can't continue to be doing this. So the government, we commend this Akufo-Addo for such initiative.
Okay.
Nobody should do this.
All right. Do you have any, very briefly, because you've spoken quite a bit.
5 seconds. I'll talk about the God factor. No matter what everyone says, Ghana is a religious country. Let's not take it for granted that it's by the grace and mercy of God that he has seen us through. We had imams and pastors playing a large role in this election.
Right.
As the Electoral Commission chairperson says, it is finished. Ghanaians have done a good job. Let's finish this year well. Let's try and accomplish all that we have to do.
Okay.
I mean, this is not only in terms of ethics, in terms of morality, so that everything will be good 2025 and going forward. I'm
sure the EC chair as well, when she said it was finished, she could breathe a sigh of relief after all these incidents. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Professor Isaac Boedi is Dean of Accounting and Finance at the UPSA. Kwame Nkrumah Botio is General Secretary of the CPP. And Andrew Apia Dankwa is a legal practitioner and member of the Movement for Change, the one who wants surgical. You should have been a medical doctor. You can add that to your portfolio. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Up next, we have Muftau Nabila Abdullahi with Prime Takes. You want to stay for that conversation. We'll be right back.